Hello, and welcome to The Square Window, the podcast that rewinds time to take us back on a nostalgic trip to the golden age of kids' TV shows. I'm Gareth, and I'll be your host. I've been a professional animator for almost 3 decades and a cartoon fan all my life, and I love to talk about the shows I watched growing up. My guest on this episode is Jane Davies-Watkins. Jane's worked in the animation industry for almost 30 years. She started as a 2D traditional animator and moved into digital animation. She worked on shows like The Tweenies, Robbie the Reindeer and Frankenstein's Cat. And more recently, she's moved into direction, co-directing Aardman's Lloyd of the Flies, and she was series director on Maddie and Triggs, which you can catch on BBC iPlayer. Jane's choice of show to talk about today is the classic American animated series M.A.S.K. So join us as we take a trip through the Square Window. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
All right.
So, thank you for coming on the show. Hopefully there'll be more than 3 people watching and listening to it by the time this episode goes out. I'm really got my fingers crossed for this. So tell me why you chose M.A.S.K as your TV show of choice.
Well, when you asked me, obviously I was such a big TV watcher when I was young. Is pretty much mostly what I did.
Awesome.
Mostly animation. It was before really I knew what animation was. It was just cartoons, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But I think I always remember Mask being one of my favourites. But which I didn't realise not a lot of people watched it, because I think what I've realised just by like searching it, I'm not sure if it was on TV much over here.
No, that's a really good point actually, because as part of this, I've gone full Rain Man and decided I'm going to find the broadcast date of every show that I want to talk about and others. And this is one of the few that when you Google it has no broadcast date
Yeah.
in the UK.
There's none. What I think though, and it was only because of I found somewhere where somebody had done a little comment about where they watched it.
Mm.
It was on Sky, but
Ah,
very early, 'cause it was Sky before it was Sky. I lived in Stevenage, and it's
right.
one of the new towns, and
Mm.
they didn't allow people to have aerials.
Satellite dishes.
No, aerials.
Oh, aerials.
It was
Wow.
before the satellite dishes as well.
Right.
They didn't allow people to have aerials, so everyone it got their, like, TV through cable. So
Ah.
we got Sky before it was Sky, so we got it when it was BSB.
Yeah, wow, that is quite old.
But it was great because, usually you'd watch TV programs on BBC One or ITV,
Yeah.
and they were, like, the set times, like, after school, and then that was it,
Mm.
and then Saturday afternoon. Those really were the only times you really got to watch, like, or Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon, because I remember running home to watch things like A-Team on a Saturday afternoon.
Yes.
But, they had a lot of, like, children's programs on there,
Mm.
and it was only one channel, and then later on they did get there was, like, a channel called the Children's Channel,
Mm.
but I think it was before then, so I think that's where I watched a lot of Mask when I was a lot young, so I probably would have been, like, 10,
Mm.
and, yeah, I just remember I absolutely loving it and absolutely being distraught that I didn't get the toys.
Ah, right, okay.
I never
See,
had
no,
the
I
toys.
I was thinking how would I seen it? Because when I realised then, right, okay, this wasn't on TV as far as I concerned. I don't remember watching it on TV,
Well,
but I remember watching a lot of it. And then as I've gone So I found a lot of the episodes on YouTube, and as I've flicked through one or two, and I'm like, Hamsina, 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 where'd that come from? And I realized I've only seen these on VHS, and
Mm.
they took up, I think it was like 4 or maybe 3 or 4 of the episodes, put them together for the UK market, and classed it as Mask the movie.
Oh,
And so
wow.
there used to be a guy called Lawrence who would drive around the streets of where I used to live in like a Ford hatchback estate, and he would rent videos. Yeah, there's like a little book, and he would rent VHS for 50p for like 1 night and then 3 nights over the weekend. And then so like I just remember that, like, I'm a flashback of like always renting Mask off him,
Wow.
and that's how I got Mask.
That's brilliant.
It's mental, isn't it? It's like I don't, you know, as this, I could have sworn it was on, after school, and then
Yeah.
your brain just goes, no, you're wrong.
'Cause I when I was talking about doing this, I said to my wife, that's what I was doing, and she was like, "What's mask?" I
My
was like,
wife's
"What?"
exactly the same.
'Cause then I thought, "Oh, maybe it was I watched it 'cause I lived in America for a while, but it
Right,
came out after I lived in America." So
right.
it was definitely in the UK, and after them finding Today, where somebody commented, it must have just been on Sky or
That's
BSB.
crazy, isn't it?
Mm,
There's a couple of shows like that. See, like cannot find any broadcasters in the UK. So like, I don't know if you remember Action Force,
no.
which was like the UK version of GI Joe, but that was exactly the same. Only on VHS. And Visionaries.
Yeah,
Yeah, VHS, possibly on Sky. I didn't have Sky until I was quite a bit older, so
no.
I don't remember any of the things that were on there. But yeah, it's quite surprising with the American stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I really love G.I. Joe, and, maybe that would have been a better show to do, but I think I knew a lot more about Mask, and I think I watched it a lot more. And one thing I realised, because obviously I watched some of the episodes before doing this,
Yeah,
and it just brought back all the memories.
it
And
does. It's brilliant, isn't it?
yeah, and then I think I realised, which is quite fascinating, because obviously, I'm an animator and I've been doing this for a lot of years. And it was definitely at a time where I didn't know what animation was.
Yeah.
Didn't know anything about it, but I realised when I was watching it, I would, um, spot the reused animation a lot.
Nice.
I was like, "Wow, I was doing that back then." And then I think because like, watching it back now, they're all very sort of basic and
Yeah,
formulaic, the episodes. Like, incredibly, it was just, like, slotting it all in.
yeah.
And it's just reusing animation a lot, because like, a lot of the action stuff either always happens at the same angle, so that they can just reuse, and then most of it happens in the desert.
Yeah, yeah, that's spot on.
So
Spot
that,
on.
that saves on, like, city or buildings or anything like that, it's just they're in a desert. And a lot
I
of
lit
action happens looking up, so it's just
Yeah,
stuff against sky.
yeah.
So and that was just fascinating.
I watched the first episode before we did this just to make sure I was fresh. And everything he said about that, it's like it was in the desert. Yeah, everything took place up in the sky. Uh, but
And
yeah, but
it's
then
it's like an isometric view as well, so when they
yeah,
go, like, for a different camera angle, it was always the isometric looking down view, and it's like, yeah, they thought about it, 'cause
yeah, it's
it was to sell toys, was the whole reason
yes,
it came, and I was wondering what came first, and it was can of toys
yeah.
making it.
We've so far now, I've done almost 10 of these now, right? And the majority of them, people have chosen American cartoons, right? And every one of them was toy first.
Mm.
Uh, let's make a car. How are we going to sell these toys? Let's make a show. Let's make a cartoon series. I was like, can I know there's not as much of it now, and that's certainly not the attitude that's so prevalent in TV now.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd love it because it'd keep us in business for years.
Mm.
I mean, sell more. If you want to sell more toys, let's make some cartoons.
Yeah, well, no one's allowed to do it now. It has
I know
to
it's
it's yeah, they're not allowed, but also, I think why probably everyone went for those shows that advertised toys was because they had a lot of money behind them.
yeah,
'Cause they'd put
that's
a
right.
big budget in, and then they'd have a great theme tune, and they'd
Yeah,
have it, like, proper full-on animation, kind of like anime, sort of that flavour. A lot of it was sort of made I think a lot of stuff was made in Japan,
yeah,
but,
a lot of it. Yeah,
and it's like even, like, all through M.A.S.K, it's got the same music all the way through, and it is, like, very Japanese rock. It's great.
yeah. Oh, it is. It's amazing. It's we what we've been tending to do, right, is cover the theme tunes towards the end because the majority of the stuff, the theme tune's the best stuff. But this theme tune in particular is one of my absolute favorites. It's in my top. It's definitely my top three. Uh, but it was composed by Haim Saban and Shuki Levy, and they were going gangbusters in the 80s basically because they did the Masters of the Universe theme tune. They did Inspector Gadget, Jason and the Wheeled Warriors, which is one of the
Uh,
others that's in my top three.
all the
Loved that
classics.
show. Loved that theme tune, honestly. But yeah, they are a theme tune royalty because they did the Power Rangers theme as well. So like as you go through the 80s into the 90s, they start to become more and more prevalent. Like,
Mm.
but yeah, theme tune wise, I've only got to hear those like synth notes on
Yeah.
this, and it's like, oh, Mask.
But the thing is with me, I think what I was conscious of, you know, when you didn't have a lot of choice with what you watched.
Mm,
And, I just remember I mostly watched, like, BBC 'cause, that after school slot, it was either BBC or CITV or ITV, and, I'd always just watch what was going on BBC, but that was where there was a lot of things where it was, like, the full-on big theme tune, but I think even though this had that theme tune, I think it was one of the many and I know you're not gonna like this, but there were
you
so
go.
many adverts. There were so many series that had the most amazing theme tune, but I didn't enjoy the episodes.
Yeah, no, I get that,
Mm.
100%.
But I think
Yeah.
why I sort of chose Mask is because it had a
Mm,
great theme tune, but I remember I just enjoyed it with all the vehicles and fighting,
yeah.
flying and ridiculousness. And it just, filled a gap.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, my sort of the way it imprinted on me was I just used to draw them all the time. You know, it's like the vehicles were so cool, the masks were so cool as well that I was just in that phase of drawing whenever I could, Street Talk and all and Airwolf, all those cool vehicles at the time. But the guys making this, they just went for it, and they were like, right, I want something with the cool vehicles like Transformers, and I want a large cast of cool soldier types from like GI Joe, and let's just mash them together. And that was the cool thing, like watching the episode earlier and the way that the team gathers, the computer tells Matt Trakker he's got to get the team together. And then you've got that montage then of each one of the specialists, like Mission Impossible
Yeah.
dossier, this guy, that guy. And there's like one guy who's a college professor and he literally his little digital watch goes off telling him he's got to go. And he just kind of stands up and he's like leaves the front of the class and walks out.
Yeah.
Hondo McLean, weapons specialist, tactical strategist, vehicle code name, firecracker.
And there was like another guy who's in a pet store and he's got like a big python around and just puts the python on the guy's shoulders and walks out. It's like, oh my God, it's brilliant.
Well, see that I don't know if they repeated any of those, but it was always I watched one earlier, I can't remember the guy's name, but he was always the one that spoke in riddles, but he worked
Oh, Bruce
Bruce,
Sattel.
that's it. He worked he was an inventor of toys, so he
That's right. Yeah.
always had the most ridiculous things, and it was just recently I just saw him, and he was on a ladder with a yo-yo this big. And I'm sure they must have been like, "Okay, we're running out of ideas. What ridiculous things can we do now?" And he just had this huge, like, yo-yo. But yeah, and what always got me was there was the guy, I can't remember which one, he always had, like, the Jeep type vehicle. He was the mechanic,
Right.
but he worked it was always, like, outside the base because I didn't know it said
Yeah. Yeah.
Nevada. So that's where their base was set, and,
Yeah.
and then it would sort of show him get his, message on his watch, and then he'll be leaving whatever mechanical thing he was doing. But it was like, "But you're right there. You're outside."
That was Dusty Hayes.
That's it. Yeah.
I remember I've got some of them. I've got some of them written down. Because I didn't realize there was so many of
Yeah.
there was more good guys than there were bad guys for sure.
Yes. Um,
So
and I think they added some as the series went on because I
that's
never
right. Yeah.
realized there were 75 episodes, but that was series 1 and 2, but series 2 only had 10 episodes.
Yeah.
And they changed it that it was racing. Never watched
Yeah.
it.
No, I didn't know that.
No.
I didn't know that until I started looking at this.
Yeah,
I
I never
thought,
watched it. Trying to thwart the bad guys to just like, "Oh, we're gonna race."
yeah, yeah. And I literally turned into pole position.
Yeah, but I never
I
watched
don't.
those. I didn't even watch them, like, just before doing this because I thought I don't want
Yeah.
it to taint my whole view of Mars.
That's a good call. Yeah, no, I've not seen them, and I can't say that I feel like I want to either. Yeah, it feels like it's diluted the whole thing. Because that was the best, in all fairness, that was the best thing about it. Like the vehicles changed into something else,
Mm.
and the masks were awesome.
Yeah,
So you had the mask team, which was Mobile Armored Strike Command,
yeah, with a
command with a K. Because, gotta make it fit.
yeah.
And then you had Venom, which was the best one, which was Vicious Evil Network of Mayhem. It's like they wear in their intent on their sleeve, and they
And, I've read a lot. I've watched a lot of, where you get these documentaries of different
yeah,
people, from the 80s where they made these sort of shows. I don't know if Mask featured much, but you just saw what happened. There'd just be like people in a room thinking, "Okay, how ridiculous can we make this? What will sell?" And I think they're going like branding first. But I think for me, as a kid, it just was so enjoyable because I quite
yeah,
liked like Secret Identities always got me,
yes,
Machinery, and I the whole cars, bikes, planes, and helicopters, and even the water. There was like amphibious vehicles as
yeah.
well, and just the action. But I think it's very formulaic, and maybe that was quite comforting as
Oh,
well.
yeah,
And, like, their ridiculous
yeah, yeah. I think so.
I think it was just they just tapped it all right in for me, and it just fit. But, yeah, I didn't realise until, when you look back. But, yeah, watching the episodes now, like, their base was incredibly over the top, where they just had,
Yeah,
like, this small little round table they'd gather round, and it's
yeah,
massive, it's huge, and then they'd have their sort of briefing, and then the table would go up into the ceiling, and then they'd
yeah,
get their masks powered on, and it was just so over the top and ridiculous, but it was great.
yeah. Well, that's it. Like catching up on an episode earlier. So Matt Trakker, who's the boss, and I'm assuming has put all the money into this. He's got a touch of the Bruce Waynes
Yeah.
in that he seems to be incredibly wealthy.
Mm.
Doesn't have a wife, but has a son. And the
God.
type of son who just like always ends up caught in the middle of whatever firefight they're in.
Yeah, he annoyed me.
And
Him and
and
T-Bod.
T-Bob, is it?
Bob,
Yeah.
yeah. Thingamabob, apparently. It was short for.
Yes, that's it. Yes.
M.A.S.K? No, I don't know anyone named M.A.S.K. I used to know somebody named Marvin, but he doesn't live around here.
They annoyed me. It was always like,
Yeah.
oh, just stop it. Stop whining. It's like, please, Dad, let me come on the, let me come. It's like, no, you're a kid, shut up.
There were no video games then. You couldn't say like, shut up, go and play Fortnite for a few hours.
But he was also like, when it was convenient, he was a bit of a genius and would make things and would sometimes solve the issue, whatever was happening, by their bumblingness and that the comedy robot.
Yes.
And then the robot turns into a little moped. How amazing!
Yeah,
Was
it's
that?
like a
I
little
wanted
scooter, isn't
that. But he never wore
Yeah.
a helmet. It was before health and safety. Also,
That's right.
I never remembered like the PSA stuff at the end of the episodes. You know, like they'd have like G.I. Joe and a lot of other shows.
Yeah.
I never remembered all that. So I wonder if maybe they just edited them out when I watched them on TV.
When you run after a ball, always stop at the street and look both ways until the coast is clear.
I remember them vividly on He-Man because they were always so cheesy.
Yeah, I remember those.
So always something at the end of that.
Mm.
And I vaguely remember the Action Force bits, but I don't remember so much of M.A.S.K.
Mm.
And it's funny, I was the American shows that did that. Like, you never saw that in the British shows.
No.
I wonder if it was to like make the producers feel better that they're trying to get as much cash out of these kids as possible.
I think it was
let's teach
law or
them.
something. I seem to remember that
Right.
they had to.
Did you have a favourite vehicle or a favourite mask?
I remember it bothering me that they couldn't move their heads except for the women. The women characters,
Oh, okay. I don't know that.
evil and good, they would have necks, so then they could like look around, and that
Okay.
always bugged me. I was like, why can't they have like the suit? Because it was almost like the big muscly like helmet
Mm,
like that. Trakker, I guess his was a little bit more of like a helmet. But
yeah.
I don't know. I kind of I think because I used to like the villains more.
Yeah, sure. Cool.
So it was the guy on the bike and the main sort of girl in the villains because she was always there with her red hair.
It's got to be here somewhere.
You think he hid his crown under the dome? If he did, he must have worn stilts.
I only ever had one mask toy, which surprises me because I liked it so much. But I had the motorbike that turned into like a one-man helicopter.
Oh, nice.
I loved that one. Condor. And that was Brad Turner. And whenever he got called up in his montage, he was always like playing a guitar or in some sort of rock gig
Oh,
or something.
yeah,
So I get a
yeah.
sense that, yeah.
It was
And
like,
his mask was called Hocus Pocus, and he would shoot holograms.
yeah.
So like in the episode we watched earlier, he was flying, attacking, and the bad guy, that Miles Mayhem, was shooting missiles at the kid, I think, and for some reason he made a hologram of a Jeep and just put it in the sky. And the missile, which was obviously a heat tracking missile, suddenly went, I'm not a heat tracking missile anymore. I'm just going to go for this Jeep that's in the middle of the sky.
For the visual Jeep.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that was the only one I had. And then I was trying to think, I think my brother had the big articulated lorry, the Rhino, I think it was called.
Yeah. It's not
But
Optimus Prime. It's not Optimus Prime.
no, it's like chunkier than Optimus Prime, isn't it? It's like
Well, I had that all
meatier.
black stuff that would open out with like
Yeah.
computers.
Yeah, and it would have like a little like all-terrain vehicle that kind of shot out the back then.
Yeah. I think
But
I had a friend who had the toys, and I remember going around their house a lot just to play with the toys.
nice.
But I don't know why I never had any. I remember I only really had one G.I. Joe, toy.
Mm.
And then I remember I saved up for that, and it was like a Jeep type vehicle with, I think, snake eyes.
Cool.
'Cause
Yes, maybe.
I love G.I. Joe because they were very articulated.
Yeah.
But I seem to remember that the M.A.S.K ones, they didn't bend at the knees. So they were like Star Wars toys.
Yeah, Kenner guys, isn't it? It's like they never went fully articulated, I don't think.
Oh.
And I forget where I've seen this now, but they were talking about the toys in particular, like why they had to be a certain size. Because obviously if they were smaller than the G.I. Joe toys, because otherwise the vehicles would be like massive, like too big to play with.
Better luck next time. But there won't be a next time.
M.A.S.K, where illusion is the ultimate weapon.
Too big to be cost effective then, you
Mm.
know. And then apparently they did a run on them in the 90s, I think, where they were G.I. Joe sized. Because I always remember the name Kenner from the Star Wars toys.
Mm.
I didn't realize that Kenner made this as well, you know. And then because Kenner were bought out then by Hasbro, I think, in the 90s. And so M.A.S.K then is like under the umbrella of you know, Hasbro's like roster of IP now, and I think they're trying to um make like this sort of world where there's Transformers, G.I. Joes, and M.A.S.K, and one other show that I can't remember the name of it now. So there's been like talk for years now about like a M.A.S.K movie or like a M.A.S.K crossover with Transformers and G.I. Joes, and which I think would be a wicked
That's
idea. I'd love to see that.
amazing.
It blows my mind that there hasn't been a M.A.S.K movie by now, because the nostalgia is there for it, and just the coolness is there.
Mm.
You know,
They'd have
you
to
could definitely do something.
they'd have to come up with a new format though. It
Yeah,
always seemed that, you know, there'd be one of the M.A.S.K guys who aren't on, you know, it always seemed more often than not, they'd just be out and about, you know, the goodies, and then they'll see
yeah.
Venom, up to mischief. 'Cause they didn't have many, like, other characters. They had the odd few, but
Mm,
it was just, like, mostly, like, the same characters throughout. And what I did find interesting, because I do a lot of voice directing as well, and I'm very much a voice geek, you know, it was, like, seeing that they had about 6 cast who did all the
yeah,
voices, and I was like,
that's
"That's
insane.
fascinating."
It is, because I was knowing that today, and I was watching the episode, right, and I was trying to see the differences between, because there's a guy, Doug Stone seems to be the one with the most different voices, most
Yeah.
the larger range, because he does Matt Trakker,
Mm.
Hondo McLean, Dusty Hayes, Bruce Sato. So most of the good guys, and there was like obviously Bruce Sato being Asian and Matt Trakker being Caucasian American.
Mm.
I thought, oh, okay, could this get a little bit, you know, strange now in the modern era, like, you know?
Yeah,
But
you wouldn't do that now.
no, no. But you know, you couldn't tell. I mean, the
Mm.
guy did both accents, and they were completely different, you know, differently inflected.
Mm.
But as you go down the list, there's like at least, like at minimum, like 4 or 5 characters
Yeah,
for each actor, except for obviously
the kid.
the kid who did Scott Trakker.
Yeah.
But this is the first cast list I've seen so far that I've not recognised any of them. I haven't seen their names come up in other shows.
Mm.
And then in those early 80s, there was quite a small roster or gene pool of American animated voice stars, voice actors. But I don't know any of there was Doug Stone, Brendan McCain, Graham McKenna, Mark Halloran, Sharon Noble, Brian George, and Brennan Thick. So like you said, it's like 6 or 7 were there.
Mm.
And not one of them sort of stands out as, oh, I've seen them, I've heard them on Ninja Turtles or Ghostbusters.
Mm.
So it's a strange one.
But it's like the baddie, his voice is very quite distinctive, but then he does like
Yes,
other
yeah.
characters as well, which is like really
Yeah.
cool.
M.A.S.K may have won the battle, but the war goes on. Next time, the victory will be mine!
Because the show was produced, animated by Deek. Is it Deek? D-I-C?
Yeah.
And they had 2 or 3 Asian animation studios on it.
Mm.
But not to the point where the work is consistently different between episodes. It all looks on point, it all looks on model, it all looks like the same sort of.
Yeah, although I did watch some episodes because I thought, I wonder how much it is different to like the first episode to later. Because I think I watched the first 10, and then that's
Mm.
when I realised there were 75. I was like, okay, I'm gonna want to skip a few. So I went up in 10s, and then I came across some right awful animation in the later
Oh,
episodes.
okay.
So it was like, they were doing more. It was almost like they were doing a lot more walk cycles, just watching characters, and they were
Ah,
walking and talking and not lip syncing. And it was just, there was like, they weren't lip syncing at all. And then, but there was this one shot, I was just like, oh my God. It's like they must have given it to like a new person because it was the most awful walk cycle I've ever seen. But it's not like, you just show it for a little bit and then move on. But no, they
let's
stick with
go
it.
with
It was there for ages. And it was like, it was, Scott and T-Bob.
Yeah.
It was just T-Bob was doing this really bad walk cycle, and then there was one position where it was just not relating. It was like he'd started to fall. So it's like it was literally that bad. I was
Oh my
like,
God. I'll
"What
keep a
is
lookout for
this?"
that one. Perhaps it was like the first work of one of the children of the studio.
So,
It's,
yeah.
they do. I mean, I don't know whether, again, I don't know whether it's because I've been animating for so long, and I don't know whether it's like animator's eye or anything now, but you do tend to catch that a lot more now on the older shows,
Mhm.
where it's like, little things like you can hear the voice of one character and yet it's coming from the mouth of a totally different character, like this, they've got like, oh, it doesn't matter, just do it, just put it through, put it through.
'Cause it would've.
Do you find that now, though? Do you find like your animator's eye completely like
Oh, totally now,
trips out?
whereas I wouldn't have cared when I was a
No.
kid, but,
No, of course
you
not, no.
can bet that they would have had to have churned this out so
Yeah.
fast. But it was still, what they did was great for, I'd love to know actually how long they had to do an episode,
Yeah. That's
and,
a good
like,
point,
how
yeah.
long did they get to do, like, the 70 odd episodes? Well, there was 65 in the first series, but
That's right, yeah.
I'd just love to know that, but there's just no information about it. It says
Well,
it was a year, wasn't it, for the first?
yeah.
So even that's 75 episodes, 20 minutes. That's an awful lot of hours
Well,
in
that's
a
it,
year.
yeah. Like 20 minutes plus for these episodes, and they weren't just 2 or 3 characters, in a room. They were like, sometimes there was like 12 characters and all the vehicles and all the VFX and explosions
Mm,
and, I mean, I'm assuming, it's a genius idea to base this around masks because, there's a ton of lip sync you don't have to bother
mm.
with, but yeah, yeah, that's a really good point, Ash. I wouldn't mind digging into that to see if we can find anywhere as to how long it took.
But it probably would have been a year. So, but that wouldn't have been, was that just production? Did they start
Yeah,
showing it in 1985 and then the last episode was shown in 1986? It's
that's
fascinating.
crazy.
But, they would have got round it by doing all that reuse. Whereas, you know what it's like when you work in a show like we do now, and it's like, oh, we'll get some reuse on this, and it's like
Yeah.
very rarely actually happens. A lot, because it's so tricky. But blatantly designed the whole show around doing the
Yeah.
reuse. So it's like that proper anime sort of mentality where they can do something, make it look lovely, but then, you know, reuse it a lot. And then you get a little bit money's worth that way. And I think that one was the most apparent in this show, I think, that I could remember. But then again, I hadn't really analysed past shows, so we'll probably find it in all sorts, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the whole, like you were alluding to it, was the whole like sitting around the table and them going up and the mask. I mean, just that thing of going up and then, and then seeing the mask come around. I mean, all that would have been the same every episode.
Yeah.
So there's like, there's a minute we don't have to animate anything new.
'Cause
I bet, yeah.
it's even like that bit where the masks are getting energized. A few
Yeah.
times I've looked and you know, they're like all the masks are on the thing, but the
Yeah.
characters aren't there. So
Yeah.
they're not even doing like alternate things of even that reuse.
Yeah.
You know, it was great. I remember it just enjoying it. It was brilliant. It was action. It was quite fun and silly. And that's what I like.
Yeah, I think that's the best thing about it really, is that you could tell it didn't take itself seriously.
They did manage to near the end of the series, they did manage to like get a few quips in. And it was like a few times I was like, what was that? And then it got to a point where they were ending every episode in the sound of laughter.
Excellent.
Yeah, kids would say a dad joke or something, or some quip, and it was like, I didn't remember these quips. There was
His
one.
squad style.
There was one I need to show you because I need to watch it again because it was brilliant. I'll find it and then I'll show it you. It was
Yeah, cool. I'll post it in the links then.
Looks like I almost got cut from the team.
As I look now, as I look further and further into the old shows, the first things that come to mind is the theme tune. It's like like you said earlier, but like sometimes the theme tune was awesome, but the show was absolute garbage, and it's like, so what would you class as have you got like a ranking of the best, or is there one theme tune that just stands out and goes, yeah, that's my absolute favorite theme tune?
Ulysses.
Oh yes,
That was my favourite. Is it
Wow.
Ulysses 31?
composed by the same composers.
Oh, was it? Well, that makes
Yeah,
sense. But then the end credits one was brilliant because that was No-No's little bit, and I loved that. That was a little bit, which I realise now, it goes a bit dancey.
yeah.
But that was my favourite. But I just hated I hated the show.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fine. It's a very slow show.
It's very slow, but it frustrated me because, and it's the same with Dungeons and Dragons, where
Right.
I got so pissed off as a child, where
Mm.
their whole aim was to get home,
Yeah.
but they never did. Or occasionally they would, but then something would
Yeah.
happen that they meant that they couldn't. And I
Yeah.
got so pissed off over this as a child.
They can't go home yet. We've got another 3 series to make.
Yeah, but it's like, just get home already.
Yeah.
Not realising, well, if they got home, then there's no story. But I didn't care. It's like, maybe it was just the focus was too much on them. Like the whole purpose of their
Yeah.
being was to get home. And it's just like, I just can't deal with it. But those were the
No,
two.
that's bang on because we did a Dungeons and Dragons one recently, and they ended the series. The intention was to get them home, and they ended the series too early to do it. So the I forget the name of the guy who wrote the show did like a final script called Requiem, and then they ended up, like years later, they ended up recording it as almost like a script read through. And so like that's out there, that's out on YouTube, and you can catch that in, and it's all like resolutions and things like that, revelations and things,
Because I
But
remember there was an episode where they did get home, but they had to, if they stayed at home, then Eric wouldn't. So then they sacrificed them getting home to,
yeah,
be back with Eric. And it's like, why not? Just leave him. He's a dick.
yeah, he was miserable anyway.
Yeah.
So we said earlier actually about this, but do you think this show, as it was, this as a cartoon series, do you think they could get made today?
I don't know. I think this day and age, it's probably a bit too boring, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, I think, right, the concept is sound, and they could definitely do something with that.
Just have to
And it's still
have more writing
like,
in it. Like,
yeah, it's still sellable as a concept. It's gangbusters, isn't it? It's like the vehicles, and I mean, it's basically like a more mature Paw Patrol.
or is it Fast and Furious?
Yeah, completely, yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, you would have to, now it would have to be like, ongoing story, and it'd have to be a bit more melodramatic, and I don't know. But I think it could work.
Scott would have to be kidnapped, and then
Yes.
that's where it's like, oh,
Yeah. He'd have to turn out to be, related, or like the adoptive child of the bad guy, and there'd have to be a redemptive arc where they all start working together, and then they end up having a barbecue at the end or something with the family, or I don't know.
no,
I don't
what
know.
did I read? Let me just find this. But quickly, I found it and I was like, what the hell? Because I thought it was meant to be the actual plot of it, but it wasn't.
Mm.
It's in IMDb. And you have to always put in the dots because there was
Mm.
the Mask series as well, wasn't there?
You either get the Mask, the Jim Carrey,
Yeah.
or it takes you to that Eric Stoltz share film,
Yes.
which doesn't have as many cool vehicles.
There's like trivia
Mm.
on this, I think. Yeah, it was like after the death of his father, Andy, multi-millionaire Matt Trakker uncovers an international criminal organisation known as V.E.N.O.M. Trakker gathers a group of friends. Oh no, that's not it. Oh, their
I think.
objective to destroy Venom and its
Mm.
mastermind, Miles Mayhem, the man responsible for Andy's death. It's like,
Mm.
what?
I read something different, that apparently on the first toy line, they did the Masters of the Universe thing where they gave out small comic books in with the vehicles. And so in these, they did like a 3-run comic book where Matt and his brother, I think it was Andy, I might be wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, here we go. Matt and his brother Andy, working together with Miles Mayhem, developed the technology, and they acted as secret protectors of the world. But then Mayhem went rogue, stole half the technology, torched the facility, and left his brother for dead, and then eventually died.
Mm.
And therefore that's why they're at loggerheads. But yeah, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of that in that early 80s with the toys. It was like, yeah, do you know what? Maybe it's before they decided they were going to go with an animated series, but they're like, right, we're going to put this law out there because the kids need to know why they need, why they need to buy these toys,
Yeah.
and then they went and because I think it was a very similar thing with Masters of the Universe. Is the comic book came first, and then they decided they were going to do an animated show as well,
Oh.
and which was handed off to another company who kind of like ignored the comic book, and so you've got this sort of misaligned law of the series, but it's they people companies kind of do that now. It's like it's just that they use the internet for it instead of putting a comic book in with a toy.
Because I did wonder if this was a comic series before, because I thought, oh, maybe all that complex story was in the comics, because it's certainly not in the series.
No, well, apparently, DC, when the cartoon came out, DC started a comic book series in the States.
Yeah.
Didn't do that well, but I don't know why. It did a lot better in the UK, and there was another company, and again I forget the name of it. I think it might be IDW or something like that. But they had quite a long run of Mask comics for a good couple of years over here, you know. But I don't remember. I don't remember any Mask comics myself. I just remember
I
the
think
VHS.
I vaguely do, but I think it definitely was UK comics because
Mm,
they were bigger, as in
yeah.
physically
Yes. That's right. Yeah.
than like American comics. But I wonder if that was after. I don't know because it certainly. I don't. Did it ever? Was it ever on TV here?
I
Have I just?
I'm gonna go out on a limb, right, and say I really don't think it was. I think it was always VHS, and like you said, possibly Sky or Sky, but certainly I never had that experience of it.
So have I just chosen a subject no one's going to care about?
Not because Mask is it's super popular. You know what I mean? It's I've been letting people know on Facebook, you know, what I'm talking about Mask tonight, and oh, I love that, love that. You know, it's people are they're aware of it, but maybe it was just because the toys were so cool. You know?
Yeah. Maybe it was at some point, but maybe later, not like at 1985.
Mm.
Because I'm pretty sure it was around then I saw it.
I remember going into school, and I remember somebody bringing in one of the Mask toys on Toy Friday.
Oh, Toy Friday.
And I always I always remembered the car was always cool. Matt Trakker's car,
Yeah. Yeah.
the Chevy Camaro,
I think,
which was
yeah, if I was to have one of those, I think it would be that car. Because
that was cool.
it's almost like a Mustang. I like Mustangs.
Yeah, with like DeLorean doors,
Yeah.
which is apparently that and the rockets are the thing that made it fly.
And what was with, they never explained it, or I haven't remembered it, is like, because he, quite often than not, he always got blown out of the sky and then he'd jump out and free fall, but then his overalls would be glowy and he'd just sort of like float down. It's just like, what was that?
Yeah,
What
that was his mask.
was it?
So
His mask?
his mask was called Spectrum, and it would shoot lasers, sound waves, and he could free fall. Now and again, he could do limited free fall flight with it. It was it was a Deus Ex mask, at the end of the day. It could do whatever it needed to do for him not to die.
Yeah.
Another one of those shows where, again, like G.I. Joe, little bit like Masters of the Universe, where obviously the male cast outweighed the amount of ladies in the cast. So there was always like one good female character, one villainous female character.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, I think maybe again that's if we were to do that now, that would change. That would have to change, surely,
Yeah. And
because
and you wouldn't have the Asian character constantly quoting Confucius and things like that. It's like,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. It's not funny, but it's surprising how many of the shows back then were like that. You know, where it was they had diverse casts, but not quite, certainly not gender diverse. But they were, in terms of ethnicity, they were always diverse, but they were very stereotypical.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, I think there was one Native American character that came into the series in like towards the end of the first. But again, he was in touch with the land and the animal spirit, and stuff like that. And
The same
so,
on G.I. Joe as well.
yeah,
Right, it's all stereotypes.
yeah. I think that's the stuff that maybe stops you enjoying it so much now, because you kind of know as you're older, you kind of go like, ooh,
Yeah.
okay, that's not. I'm not looking.
Yeah, it is.
Best bit.
There is so much stuff where I do watch old things occasionally, and you're like, "God, this is boring," or "Oh, this isn't this makes this isn't great."
That's fine. I think that's not a bad thing. We were very different people, I would hope,
Hmm.
at the age of 8, 9, 10.
Well, it was the
And
majority of everything was just made by, white guys.
yes.
So there wasn't like, a diverse cast of people making
Mm.
stuff to sort of be,
Yeah.
well, let's do this. Or it was
Yeah.
just, or women in, making stuff. It would just be just one point of view on the world back then.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And that's what I love now about, being an older gentleman, of refined taste, and having small children who will watch any old shit. And some of the stuff, I mean, certainly, I mean, this is interesting now. I find, because they're into YouTube more than anything
Mm.
on any sort of streaming network or terrestrial television. We had a brief liaison, a dalliance with Bluey, which I love, and it's not me and my wife just watch Bluey without the kids anyway. No, so but some of the stuff they watch on YouTube just makes you, I think makes you cry out for Mask and Transformers.
Yeah.
At least there's a running storyline in an episode of Mask, even if it is quite contrived.
But I think that's the thing, isn't it? Is like kids now, and I know this from watching, how my child consumed media.
Mm,
Is it's just there's so much choice. There's so many variation of what to choose that
mm,
I had to. It's just I had to let go because it was almost like this isn't well made. But he didn't
mm.
care. He didn't care about
That's right.
any of this. It's just
Yeah.
it's sometimes would just be like 10 seconds of this, 30 seconds of that, and it is
Mm,
total different than how it was when we consumed the stuff that was put in front of us.
yeah.
Whereas we didn't have opportunity to just find what we liked.
That's right.
There's such a vast
Yeah.
array of it. Is it there's so much when I would come home and I'd watch that I'd still watch it, but I didn't enjoy it. Like Three
Yeah. So
Musketeers, and things I
that's
hated it, but I still watched it because there wasn't anything else to watch.
yeah. Yeah. You'd have a grudging respect for it. Oh no, animals are found in woods. I hate that weasel. But
Yeah.
there's nothing else on, so I'm gonna watch it.
And then, you'd have that choice of, "Oh, I'll turn over to the other channel." No, I go back, and then it just I think I just sort of, a lot of shows were they were kind of even though they were knocked out and farmed out and just
Yeah.
pooed out as quick as possible, but there was
Yeah.
still a quality about them which I quite liked,
Yeah.
like, you know and then you'd get shows like X-Men, which were just brilliant, but still
Yeah.
there's similar sort of thing to Mask and Masters of
Mm.
the Universe and things like that, where they were made very cheaply, but they
Yeah.
actually took some care over it to sort of make it half decent and,
Yeah, no, 100%. And I think a lot of it as well is the nostalgia. Like I
Mm.
said earlier, it's like when you hear a music, a song. You hear a song and it instantly sort of
Yeah.
transports you back to your childhood. And I mean, it might be something like "In the Jungle" by Tight Fit, which it's not. If you rank that amongst other songs, it's just not got the quality of a Champagne Supernova. But you hear it and it just takes you back to a time where you maybe felt a little bit more comfortable, a little bit safer,
Mm.
and that sort of warm glow. And that's what I get from a lot of these shows. It's like I can hear the theme tune of Mask, and I can remember the wallpaper of the living room in the house, or I can remember having had
Yeah.
tea, and then what I mean is that I think that's the thing about kids TV that gets me the most. But then, as well as the fact that I'm an animator, so I'm always interested in classic works of art of my art,
Mm.
which Mask isn't, but
Do you know what?
it's just part of it.
What you just said there is so right because, you know, hadn't actually recognised this till now, but yeah, I totally was back in my living room at home, like my parents' house where I grew up. I was in the living room watching it
Yeah.
and hadn't realised that, but yeah.
But I think that's why that's the whole reason behind this, is like just like being able to talk about these old shows and how they've not just me, but how they've impacted on people in our industry. So do you think M.A.S.K had anything to do with your sort of career path?
Maybe because, that and all the other shows like G.I. Joe, Transformers, X-Men, all the shows like that, which I really liked, that were quite figurative, like less cartoony, because I think that's what I started drawing. Because I also, when I got older, I also got heavily into comics.
Yeah, cool.
Quite early, like, late 80s, I got into comics because I lived in America, and then, I wasn't enjoying it because I was in like middle school and high school. But my mum would take me to the comic shop on a Thursday, and then, I could get whatever I wanted. And then that kind
Awesome.
of like kept me going. And then I discovered a comic about with Captain Britain in called Excalibur. So that had some of the
Yes.
and then that's when I started drawing, and it was, very comic based. But I think it all was just what I enjoyed really much as a child was like these figurative shows that were like quite actiony. They're just like moving comics, like
Awesome.
superheroes and things like that. And then, and then it got to the point where, when you decide what you're gonna do, and it's like, well, what are you gonna do? It's like, well, I don't know, I can draw. And then it wasn't through, it took me a little while before I discovered animation, and that was a possible thing I could do. And, it wasn't until, I got into uni eventually, and then it was an animation course, and then that's when you fully discover what animation is. And
Yeah.
yeah, I just went from there, and then I got a job, and then been doing it for almost 30 years.
It's frightening, isn't it?
I know.
And it's surprising how similar that story is to the majority of animators I know. It was a love of something as a kid, something that they would draw, and sparked their imagination and just led them down that path.
It was definitely, I preferred cartoons. I didn't know what animation was. I was just like, I liked cartoons, all sorts. But yeah, I think you're right there. It probably is. But would I have gone this path if it was like this day and age where there's such a wide, broad range of things to consume and watch?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think we were very much products of the time,
Yeah. Well, I never really thought about it like that before. But yeah, say yes.
We got join the crew. We got t-shirts. It's great.
We're coming.
Mate, I'll wrap it up there.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
Deep, and then we'll stop. I'm going to think about this a lot more for the rest of the evening, I think, and just be like,
good. I know. That's again, job done, man. If that's all this podcast does is make people think about the choices they made and how they made them, and it comes back to the fact of watching TV as a kid. Win. And that's all for today's trip down memory lane. Massive thanks to Jane for guesting, and also to you for joining us. Don't forget, if you enjoyed today's episode, hit that follow or subscribe button so you never miss an episode of the show. So until next time, take care, and I'll catch you on the next trip through the square window.